Welcome to the KDrama Show with Ashley and Kim.
That's Ashley.
That's Kim. We're here to recap and relive our favorite moments of Gangnam.
Oh, it wasn't me! It wasn't me! Yeah!
Gangnam in my head! I was so close! Dang it! To get back into GyeongSeong. Hold on, maybe I should just get to the actual title and have the title big. Good.
No worries, dude. You gonna try it again?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just glad it wasn't me. After the night I've had, we take those.
Welcome to the KDrama Show with Ashley.
I'm sorry.
Wait.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Welcome to the KDrama Show with Ashley and Kim.
That's Ashley.
That's Kim. We're here to recap and relive our favorite moments of GyeongSeong Creature Season 2, Episode 2 with you, our listeners.
And we are going to jump right in, so make sure that if you haven't seen the episode yet, that you go and watch it before you listen to this podcast episode. But today's episode is called Sign Between Fact and Distortion. And today we kind of learn a little bit about some history of Silverbill, who we confirm is Chaeok. We get to peep a little bit more into the world of JeonSeong, and we also uncover some of the weird tension that's happening between Yeongil and HoJae. So without further ado, we're gonna jump right in.
Welcome to the KDrama Show. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Kim.
We're here to unpack your all-time favorite Korean dramas and chat about all the reasons that we find these shows so charming.
And so addictive, and we know you do too, so settle in with some ramen and a boba tea while we dive into the KDrama Show with Ashley and Kim. Plug the Ashley T for us, please.
All right, so Ashley T is exclusively on Instagram at the KDrama Show. I am finally getting it together a little bit and actually
wonderful.
Getting information.
I love it.
I'm slowly figuring out technology. I was
Makes
very
one of us apparently.
So yeah, any tea that I find, I try to do it, when I'm not running a business and trying to, get my life together for this. But it is on Instagram, and I will be just posting random tea, and so find me there.
All right, recap. We meet HoJae and Silverbill, two characters with familiar faces and mysterious pasts that exist in modern-day Seoul. These two have unconventional occupations. Silverbill is a sleuth, and HoJae is a glorified blackmailer. They get wrapped up in the same job, one that results in a murder. HoJae's arm is twisted by the police to become the lead CI, and HoJae, in turn, twists Silverbill's arm into partnering with him in order to clear his name as the prime suspect of the murder. We are also introduced to JeonSeong BioTech, a facility that carries on the mantle of the notorious Wonsong Hospital from the war days. That brings us into episode 2, Sign Between Fact and Distortion. So this first topic I have called Origins. We harken back to episode 1.
I forgot I was going to throw a quick PSA out.
Yes, please do.
This episode is it is definitely one of the more intense episodes of this season. Nothing like season 1 still, but there is some gore, there is some violence. There's just a little bit more going on in this episode, so just be careful because if
you're sensitive to it, just
skip over it.
Skip over it or go listen to one of our other seasons. We'd love to catch up with you later, especially if you're into the Gangnam Beauty season. Go and listen to that as well. It's posting
at the same time.
Simultaneously. I'm really struggling right now. Words are hard. Anyway, back to Origins.
So
we harken back to season 1 as the mother's kind of the gift of life through the Najin allowing Chaeok to actually survive that night, which we kind of knew. Yeah. But we didn't really get to see that take place like this. But we see her climb out of the river. She's drenched in water. And she just loses consciousness on the riverbank. And she doesn't actually regain it until
sometime later.
Sometime in indeterminate amount of time, but she finds herself surrounded by just carnage. And it is horrific. That is not really a word we've used yet in for this show.
Season, yeah.
But the amount of, it was like Carrie level.
It was very intense. She is, first of all, she doesn't know what's going on because we kind of see like a watery lens that she is looking through of like coming to, and she just hears crying, and eventually it gets to the point where she regains enough consciousness to be like, oh, they are crying, don't kill me, don't kill me, like, and it's these little kids, and we finally see Chaeok, and she is literally Carrie level, covered in blood, and just is like, what is happening? Like,
she
did I do this?
She asked the kids, did I do this? And they're like, yeah, please don't kill us.
please. And she, like, of course it terrifies her that she could have done this, and she runs out of this little house that she was at, and there is in fact a trail.
Well, at first
carnage.
You just see that it's a house full of people that have been killed, and you're like, that's awful.
That's a lot.
And then she walks outside, and it's like the village has just been completely
wiped off the map,
decimated. Yeah, it was a lot. But we see the celebration of Korea's independence from Chaeok's perspective. You know, we saw it at the end of season 1 from Taesong's perspective, but she's observing Taesong from a distance. And again, as you had pointed out, this kind of gives like legitimacy to the theory that we had that was her that he had seen down the road. Yeah. But they didn't really confirm that in any way until now. But we do hear her say, why are these things happening again? And I'm just like, what do you mean again?
What do you know?
What do you mean? But that brings us into our second point, which I called alliance.
Well, we come back to where we ended with episode 1 of her just hugging HoJae. And after she had said Master Jang, and he's just going,
what, you know touchy?
I don't know you. Like, I think you have me confused with somebody else. And so she just kind of like steps back and is like, yeah, you're right. I am confusing you with someone else. Kind of like just to herself, like not necessarily confirming it for him. But then he's just asking her questions like, who are you? Why were you there that night? Because as far as I'm concerned, you and I, we are in the same boat here. Like, we were both in that room, but I'm being charged here. But we can help each other clear, you know, my name, because I'm the only one. And she just goes, you know, we're not in the same boat. You're the only one accused. And
sucks to suck, bro.
Yeah. Better luck next time.
Boy.
And so he tries to be like, well, you can be accused of this too. So, like, let's work together. And she goes, I don't like carrying around dead weight. So.
Yeah, and then she says, well, she insists that she works alone. And he's like, I do too, but someone is dead now. And we kind of are stuck in the middle of this, and she goes to like hit him again, like punch him in the face, and this time he grabs her fist and catches it.
He has the same reflex that she had.
Yeah, and she says to him, a word of advice, if you find the killer, you won't be able to handle him. Dun dun dun.
Yikes.
This next topic I called Master Jang. HoJae gets back and he asks Yeongil if he knows of a Master Jang Taesong. Since the girl had asked him if he was this person, which is a very weird question to ask someone. But Yeongil looks extremely uncomfortable, and he immediately changes the topic to ramyeon, which, to be fair, that would get me to redirect too. It doesn't really...
Yeah.
Like, Ashley walked into my house today and was like, I brought ramen. I'm like, yeah, you did.
I wanted that today.
I needed it. I'm really going to need it later.
Yes.
But HoJae, again, he has this ringing in his ears. And he even goes to, like, touch the scar that's down the back of his spine on his neck. But he takes a call for another project or another investigation. But this time we see that it's actually the female police officer that's outside of his window. And do we know her name yet? Help me out.
No Jisoo.
No Jisoo? Okay. Jisoo. Oh,
Jisoo.
that's cute.
Yeah.
Next topic is called Breach.
Chaeok gets home after this encounter, and she's very shaken up emotionally. Like, why wouldn't you be? This is somebody that you... has the face of the person that you loved. Mm-hmm. And you knew that you were never going to see them again. And she just walks in and is like, there's something wrong here. Like, my space has been invaded.
Yeah.
And she ends up getting a text from Madame Na saying there's a request for you to find someone, since, that is her job. It's to find a man named Jang HoJae, and he's been missing for a year. We don't have an actual picture of him, but here's a picture of a drawing of him. And it's of Jang Tae-sung. And Chaeok stares at it and is just like, yep, I'm on my way. She doesn't tell Madame Na that.
But it's not only just a sketch of Jang Tae-sung. It's the sketch from her room.
From her desk.
So
Yeah.
she's like, all right, well,
I'm going to be on my way.
Whoever was here is now there, and that's a problem.
Yeah. But then at the bar that Madame Na is running, who's the, person who runs interference for her, she gets asked, so, how long have you and Silverbill been working? And she just goes, I don't take questions regarding Silverbill. I think if you really don't want to stick around, you can leave a phone number and we will get back to you. But she goes outside and actually texts Chaeok, don't come. You need to stay away. Something's not right.
Chaeok is now like full sprint to the bar though, because she knows that something is wrong.
Yeah.
But this next topic is called cereal.
Not what you eat.
Not the one you eat.
No.
The female officer, Jisoo. She has arrived to present HoJae with case files regarding the serial murders that have been taking place. And Oki-hoon is actually the 5th person to die this way. The bodies were each missing a part of their eye and a part of their brain. And everyone at the station is just kind of floored by this. They don't really know. This is a very unique MO, and it's a bit gruesome.
And it's all done by one person.
Yeah.
And
I think they said it was over the course of like a couple of weeks, wasn't it?
A few months.
Okay.
2 months. Past 2 months.
Okay.
Sorry, I have it written down if I could actually look at my notes.
Hey, good job.
Thanks.
But the man at the bar, actually, we come back to him, and he asks how long Madame Na has been working with Silverbill. And he references the request for Ki-hoon and calls the bar reception area. He references...
He references...
the request that Ki-hoon... that Ki-hoon had disappeared. He references that request that came through, which she's like, how do you know this?
Right, which is when she's...
And that's when she sneaks off to alert Silverbill. But when she turns around, Calico Man is standing behind
I like that name. That's a good name. But with Detective No, or Jisoo, HoJae is asking, is this, like, are you new to violent crimes? How many cases have you solved? And she's like, I've only been here for a couple months. And it's not like I get any say in the cases assigned to me. Yeah. Like, when they say this is what you're going to do, I have to, that's my job.
Right.
And he goes, are you really going to try and hide a listening device right there? And she's not subtle about it. She, like, has her coffee, and she's like...
She's so bad. Because she's a newbie. She's a rookie. She doesn't know what she's doing. But she wants her breakthrough.
They both get a message saying that something has happened. And they leave, and as they run out, Detective Jisoo takes that listening device and actually puts it on the other side of the table, and then follows him out the door. And they also are on their way to
a 6th victim.
Yeah.
We cut to Silverbill, right? And she is still speeding down the road. But HoJae and the cop they're on a bike racing toward the scene. And Silverbill arrives and she tries to break the police line, but we see that this scene is, in fact, Madame Na, the bar owner and Silverbill's friend. Silverbill is looking down from a rooftop and gets a call from Madame Na's cell phone at that moment, which is strange because she's looking at her body.
Right.
But it is Calico Man, and he asks how she knows Chung HoJae. And then Silverbill in turn asks, "Did you murder Madame Na?"
Mm-hmm.
And he is extremely dismissive about the way that he admits to killing her. Kind of like yeah.
And?
Yeah, exactly. And almost like it's boring for him to have to talk about it. But Silverbill realizes from the background audio that the man is still on scene, and she starts to search him out in the crowd. But Silverbill spots him as HoJae spots Silverbill, and so we kind of have this little, like, chase ensue. But HoJae can't really keep up with the extreme parkour that's happening because he's still just a dude.
He's just a guy.
He's just a man. But this next section I call Chase.
Which is highly ironic that that's what every time I've ever typed in Chaeok, it always changes it to Chaseok.
Does it?
And it drives me nuts. So yes, they are running in a line, basically, to get the other person. And Calico Man jumps off of a bridge. And Silverbill also jumps off of a bridge. And then HoJae comes up and he just goes,
"Let me get my moon boots out."
"Hold on." What?
Go Gadget.
Gadget. Inspector Gadget.
We're showing our age.
Sorry. It's been a couple weeks again, so
It's going to be a couple weeks next time, too.
Okay, so they're in the underground tunnels, basically, and they have a pretty epic fight going on, and Calico Man, like, throws Silverbill, and she just flips and, like, slides in the water. And, I mean, they continue to fight, and she stops him and has him pinned against the wall, and he goes, "You should be dead. Like, humans can't take what I've just done to you. So clearly you're not a human." And she just responds by asking if he had killed Madame Na and Oh Ki-hoon. And he just kind of, again, it's dismissive, but he's so curious. And I find that to be so, like...
Because we had theorized that they knew each other.
Yeah.
That they were from the same organization, and clearly he doesn't know who she is. And she doesn't know who he is.
Right. Because he kind of just looks at her and he's like, "Are you one of us?" And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And looks down and sees tentacles coming from his arm, and then he stabs her and throws her.
It was brutal.
It was intense. Like, ouch. And he goes to attack again when HoJae, like, tackles him and is like, "What in the world are you doing?" And we see that the Calico Man stops and stares at HoJae.
Yeah, this was super interesting to me that he does nothing to stop HoJae from helping her.
He just stops and is just like...
He just stares.
But, like, I don't know what emotion was on his face.
It seemed
because it
like
was
shock
and
confusion.
Mixed with something else.
Yeah. Almost like a "I thought you were dead," and I was sad you were dead.
Yeah.
And now you're not. So.
Yeah. What's that emotion called?
It almost, to me, it looked like a son looking at a father that he thought was not alive anymore.
Yeah. Maybe that's the...
I
That's not a
don't
word
know.
for that emotion. There's a lot of...
I haven't watched past much of this, so you're the one who's seen it all, but...
Yes.
Anyway,
so Calico Man stares at HoJae, and just disappears.
Yeah.
And we just see HoJae going, "Hey, you need to stay with me," as Silverbill just
bye-bye.
slips
Night-night.
unconscious.
This next chunk is called History. I don't know why I called it a chunk. This next section is called History.
The next topic.
Thank you. So, is this a memory, or is this what she had wished for? Chaeok wakes up on John Tae-sung's sofa and embraces him. Then we're back in historical Korea, historical by like the 1940s, right? But she tells him that she had a terrifying and lonely dream, and he tells her not to think too much since a dream is just a dream. But we're back in present day, and Silverbill is being escorted by HoJae into the ER when she regains consciousness and grabs his hand before being carted away. And we see the opal bracelet actually fall to the ground. And HoJae picks it up, and we see this really strange look cross his face again. Mm-hmm. And he kind of has like the sort of the weird something's off happening. But we see our mystery man, mm-hmm. at the facility again, speaking with his boss or someone of authority when he's shown this news article about the recent bar owner's murder. And he actually instructs the man to call SeungJo before entering the Onsong elevator again. But HoJae, and SeungJo is the name of our Calico man.
Our Calico man.
But HoJae is busy contemplating things while holding on to this bracelet when he learns that Silverbill has actually slipped away. Mm-hmm. All that's left is like the bloodied rags that they had used to try to like stop the bleeding when she was like on death's doorstep 20 minutes ago. But she hasn't been completely treated, so he's like, are you alive? Are you okay?
What happened? Well, our mystery man who had called for SeungJo walks into a room, and we just see SeungJo's very cocky. He's very full of himself. He's very assured that, he's like, you didn't have to call everybody here for this. And then he just gets beat. Like, there's no good way to put it. He just gets smacked.
He gets slapped silly.
And he then gets thrown onto the ground and told to stay put as the mystery man, like, steps on his head and says, you are not to leave. You're to keep your head low and do exactly what you're told. Mm-hmm. And as he leaves, SeungJo laying on the ground, you see, I would classify it as he's very defiant in this moment because he's just like, yeah, well, what are you going to do about it? And
right before he says what you're going to say, I think he looks at SeungJo on the ground and he says, power, is this what you're going to say? Mm. Power that cannot be controlled is not real power, SeungJo. That's chaotic inertia and violence, nothing more. Don't let me hear a peep from you for a while, and don't do anything until the incidents that you've caused die down, or you'll have to answer to the chairman. And I just put, oh.
Oh, no. Yikes. No. After that, when the mystery man is leaving, and SeungJo, he's still just laying on the floor, and he just goes, are you sure that HoJae is dead? You were the one that was in charge of his execution.
Dun, dun, dun.
What?
And then Korean Drax is like, don't bring up that name again.
That's a perfect name for him, too.
Anyway, this next topic is called patterns. We are at the police station, and the captain... Wait, to back up, I'm sorry. Yes. I was going to say this, and then the Korean Drax thing derailed me. The way that Scary Man slaps around SeungJo reminds me of, and this is terrible, but like an old farmer man beating a dog.
Yeah.
Just like, if you're gonna be defiant, then I'm gonna kick the crap out of you and bring you back into step. I'm going to break you back down. Yeah, it was very just demeaning, dehumanizing. Anyway, sorry. Patterns, new topic. We're back at the police station, and the captain is kind of lamenting the newest case and just their lack of leads in this. But Detective No gets sent out to keep an eye on Jang HoJae, much like our precious Mori from season 1. But we learn that Detective No is able to plant her bug after all, and she has been listening to him, or for him. He hasn't come home yet. But HoJae has traveled to Silverbill's apartment to do some reconnaissance and learns that even the bar owner had, limited information on who she was, her comings and goings, that sort of thing. But HoJae had used one of his informants to collect what info that he could. And it's this old ajumma, this old woman outside of a shop. And he kind of slides her like this envelope of cash, which he tells her is for her grandson's graduation. And she brags about his new job at JeonSeong BioTech, which we have been acquainted with, calling him President Jang, President Jang,
Mm-hmm.
which he corrects her, saying that Yeongil is the president.
Right.
And she responds with, all of us know that Master Jang is the one that keeps Bugong afloat. And he kind of pauses at the title and asks who she was talking about. This is the second time in a day that he's been called this name. And she sort of gets a really strange look on her face, like,
right.
Oh, said too much.
Wasn't
Whoopsie.
supposed to do that.
But she does. She describes this pawn shop called House of Golden Treasure from her mother's days, and it actually stands where his shop currently stands now. But this next topic is called Regenerate. Pause. Hang on. Go back to this topic. Okay. I'm sorry I keep doing this. What is up with this? Because, like, does everybody in this neighborhood, like, know who he is?
I think the informants do. Because they've worked with him for a long enough period of time to know that something's happened.
Okay. And I guess to tie into the end of this episode, knowing that he's lost his memory, maybe they've been told by Yeongil not to say anything.
That would be my...
Yeah. That would be my current, like, this episode guess.
Right. Just for, like, hey, XYZ happened, we're no longer going to bring these topics into...
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Okay.
Because, that ties into the end of the episode.
I'm in a weird spot with it because I've seen the next episode.
I know.
But I haven't seen the whole show. So I'm like, what you gonna tell me, Ashley? This was by choice, though. I've put myself in this position. Anyway. Regenerate.
So Taehyuk is in, like, the slums. Really gross room. This is not her home base. And she is, like, writhing, but she's holding where she got stabbed. I mean, as you would, like, hello, lots going on. And she is coming back into consciousness now.
But she's not dead.
Oh, she's not dead.
She should be. But she's not.
And then we finally see the chairman, and he is the man on one of the books from the end of episode 1. He is the author. And he asks how the experiment went this time. So the experiment that we saw at the end of episode 1 of A0-67. And also he is played by the same guy who's in our other show.
Our current show, Do Sang-won. Still a crappy dude. But he is told that, they haven't been able to get past step 2 of this experiment. And he's kind of done with it. He's like, if you guys can't figure out this experiment, you're all replaceable. But we actually see what had happened with the experiment is the creatures had come out of their cages, and the man who had the A0-67 tag was starting to freak out. And he's told by our mystery man to not be scared because the creature will feed off of fear. It'll provoke it.
And it'll make it worse. And he's like, you need to keep eye contact with it. But then we see 3 creatures have come out, and the third one is the most terrifying.
Okay, so the first one I described as a bridge troll. The second one I said it looks like a mummified ape. And then the third one kind of looks like Seishin, but with like a scarier face somehow. Because Seishin had a very intimidating face.
I think and we've talked about this with episode 1, what's scarier about this one is the amount of sentience that it has. Well, like, it's more put together.
In Seishin,
awareness. Like, it didn't have to fight.
More calculated, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that Seishin also still had enough of that, like, maternal instinct in her. And we had that understanding where, like, okay, yeah, you have a motivation.
Right.
And it's not a scary motivation. You're just trying to, like, help your kid.
Right.
This guy, we don't know who you are, and you have very large eyes, sir.
Very scary.
Yes.
But so the creature, the man starts to run away, and the last creature impales him with one of its tentacles and comes around to his brain and ends up ripping the Nadine out and throwing it against the glass for the mystery man to look at. And it is like the mystery man even realizes, like, oh, this is bad. Like, there's no good scenario that's going to happen here with this. If this is the response we're getting from our current contained creatures to rip out the Nadine, that's a problem.
So I'm trying to, like, theorize what's going on here with this particular, because this is a very, like, intentional scene. For him to, like you said, to rip out the Najin is very it seems like a personal vendetta. Like, I know what you're doing.
I'm not gonna let you.
And you need to stop. So I just have so many questions. I can't even formulate anything. Anyway, it's fine.
It's fine. So that is what happened. That's why the experiment had failed.
Yeah.
So the chairman, tells him, do not fail again. And then he asks about SeungJo and tells him, if he messes up again, I will lock him up forever.
Well, he says to Scary Man, the previous chairman gave you a Najin so that you could carry on the legacy of JeonSeong.
And to
this is
protect
like
it.
a generational thing. But you should not make more mistakes because at the end of the day you are disposable. So here I was thinking that he was kind of like on the inside track, right? Like it's the nepotism thing. But he's just a henchman at the end of the day.
Right.
But then he asks about SeungJo, and then he shakes his head at the fact that he's murdered people in this day and age. It's like, dude, you just walked that guy into his death like 20 minutes ago. Are you kidding me right now? I said as they murder people in their basement again, but it's for science, so it's cool.
It doesn't matter.
It's fine. This next topic is.
Do you get as he left the room? After the chairman leaves the room?
No, go ahead.
So the chairman leaves, and our mystery man just looks at a wall, and it pans, and we see an aged Kato.
Yes, the photo on
the wall.
Yes. Okay. This next topic is called Reset. HoJae and Yeongil are having lunch when HoJae brings up this house of golden treasure that was owned by a master Jang Taesong, or a master Jang. And Yeongil, he sputters when he hears this name spoken.
He dies choking on his food.
Yes, he does. And he still feigns ignorance in this moment, but HoJae obviously knows that this is somehow connected. I mean, he researches people for a living. He knows when you're lying,
right,
and you're not being very subtle. But he asks if there's anything that HoJae asks if there's anything that he might need to know prior to his accident a year prior. That's a familiar timeline. We've heard that before.
Interesting.
Perhaps a motorcycle accident involving about 30 or so Najin zombies.
Instead of vampire zombies.
HoJae. That guy. HoJae has amnesia, though. And his memory has been filled in by stories from Yeongil. So this is kind of the first time we hear this, right? That he doesn't have his full memory. But he asks HoJae just to trust him and to stop dwelling on a past that has nothing to be missed. And HoJae just kind of pauses and says, was my life really that bad? And so at this moment I was like, are Yeongil's intentions good or bad here? And I have to imagine that it's somewhere in between knowing who his grandfather is.
Yeah.
And he doesn't seem like he's trying to hurt HoJae.
Yeah. It's more like I don't want you to relive something.
Yeah. But HoJae insists that he have his memory back, even if it was of bad things. And that's a fair thing. You know, your experiences are your experiences. They shape who you are, and when you don't have them, it feels you're missing a part of you.
Mm-hmm.
But Yeongil just kind of gives it to him straight, saying, your life was filled with paranoia and anxiety and anger management issues. You need to look ahead of you because you have an opportunity to live a new life that you can actually enjoy. And HoJae recognizes, I think, that his friend went through a difficult time with this.
Yeah.
When a call interrupts their conversation, and it's Silverbill, and she is outside their door. This last topic I have called famine.
Okay. Yeah, so Chaeok is at the door and goes, does your offer still stand to work together? Because if it does, like, okay, I'm in. And
we hear the theme song play.
We do, and it's like,
I love it.
I know that song. But then we cut to SeungJo, and he is actually holding the picture of HoJae and the notebook of all of the drawn pictures, and he puts them into like the bottom drawer of his desk and pulls out a different box, and
it's like concealed.
Yeah, it's hidden, like he's not supposed to have it, like a little kid hiding something. And he pulls out a picture of a woman, and we actually see that it is Myungja, or Akiko, from season 1.
Yeah.
And he just kind of stares at it. And then we cut back to Hyungil, and he is walking up to his desk, and on his phone, or his phone is ringing, and it just has M. And he just answers, and all we see is an older woman wearing traditional Japanese clothing, standing, holding a phone.
In a very familiar home.
In a very familiar home. End of episode.
It was Lady Maeda's home. Okay. End of episode.
End of episode.
Character of curiosity. It's hard when you've seen it.
It's hard when I've seen it, but also like there's enough that I remember us trying to watch this episode in Colorado
when we were falling asleep,
and we were so tired.
We were very tired,
and I remember just like, I think I even sat up at the very end of the episode and I went, "It's Lady Maria!"
You did, because it woke me up and freaked me out. Remember
I'm
that?
so sorry.
And then I still didn't remember till the next day when you told me.
Oh no,
I was very asleep.
I am very curious about SeungJo.
What is in your hair?
The gold pin.
Okay, sorry. I just it looked like a shoelace. I'm sorry.
It's not a shoelace.
No, I knew it wasn't, but my eyes are bad. Oh yeah, I've seen you wear that.
But I want to know about SeungJo. Why are you curious about HoJae? Is it the same HoJae that I know? But also, you're sneaking into people's houses. You have absolutely no remorse about anything. You know, all the people you've killed. Your attitude problem. I mean, you were very defiant.
Yeah.
But then even at the end of holding the picture of Myungja or Akiko, like, do you know that that's your mom?
I would guess yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming so. That's why that picture's hidden away. But
You're right.
He's very interesting.
He is. He's got this kind of air about him where you're like, are you a product of your environment, or are you just a bad dude?
Yeah. So, he's very interesting to me.
Yeah. My characters of curiosity, I have Yeongil, the heck man. What are you? What are you doing?
Yeah, he would be my runner-up.
Last time I checked, Lady Maeda, not a good person. So for you to like be saying these things as a friend and then to rope Lady Maeda into it, I'm really uncomfortable with that alliance.
Yeah. Well, Yongo is a good one again because he was my character of curiosity for the first episode of what are you not telling HoJae?
HoJae, yeah, exactly. But then we have SeungJo, and I mean, I just put, obviously, he's Myungcha's baby. I mean, that's, you don't get around that anymore.
Yeah, we kind of knew that from the first time we saw his face, and we're like,
yeah,
there's only one that has the Najin out the eyeball.
Yeah, yep. But if he was as conscious as he seemed back when he was an infant, does he remember his mother's death? And does he have a vendetta against this whole thing because he knows that Kato killed his mom? Or Kato.
No,
it was Kato.
Ishikawa.
Ichikawa got killed by Cheok in the street.
No, that was Ichiro.
Ichikawa was the
police commissioner. Right, but he told all of his men to shoot Myungja. Kato just kept her caged because they didn't know if she was alive or not.
Kato killed her to take the baby.
No, she begged for help because she was giving birth.
Yes, but he cut the baby out of her and let her die.
Well...
I mean, vivisection was very that was a common big thing to these guys. You're right. They were all about vivisections.
You're right.
So...
I guess
that was my understanding of what I saw, like, the scene the context they set up in there was that
he just cut the baby out.
For help because she was delivering, and then he just
cut the baby out rather than...
and let her bleed out.
I guess I like thought that's what happened, but it never just
because that fits his MO.
Yeah, that's a very Kato thing to do.
Yeah, that's so Kato of you.
That's so Kato of you. Is that what you said?
Yeah. But then I have Scary Man. Is he the son of Kato? They look a lot alike. Was this intentional? And we see that little shrine in the corner that he stops and he stares at. Just passive thoughts that I don't really know if they really mean anything. Final thoughts?
There's a lot going on, and I need more answers.
There is a lot going on. This was such a good episode.
Yeah. Very information. Again, just like the first season, it keeps it going. Like, you don't have to wait a super long period of time for all of your questions to be answered. There's definitely a theme here of, like, who is HoJae?
Yeah.
What happened to him?
Why is HoJae?
We're not going down that road again.
This is the second time, twice in a row, we've referenced drag.
We did before we started recording, too. But no, it's very... there's a lot more, like, intentional vendettas going on. Like, the creature taking out the Najin and chucking it at the guy. Like...
Yeah.
What?
That's exciting.
So much fun.
Well,
your final thoughts?
I fell asleep for most of the first watch through. You know, surprise, surprise. So this was actually kind of fresh for me to see again. But I really like the unanswered questions. I just love that we're confused. It just propels the story forward so nicely, I think. And I also really, really liked the callbacks to season 1 that this episode had.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to seeing all of this kind of, like, come to a head. Like, how big is this army? Did HoJae just murder, like, the majority of the army since he only had... He had, like, 30 guys come at him.
Right.
Did he only have, like, 30 Najin spare? And is he down to, like, the 5 that we saw down in the holding cell? And that's probably why we hate HoJae, is because he killed a lot of the people. But what is SeungJo's obsession with him, right? Because he seemed... There was just, like, this moment where he's, like, fixated.
Yeah.
And he clearly weaponizes him against Scary Dude in that scene. I get why HoJae has amnesia, but why is Cheok not familiar with these guys? She obviously wasn't a part of the army, but she's been around for long enough,
right,
to have seen something.
Unless she just wasn't in that part of Korea.
But
But I mean, yeah, she's been around for a while.
She's a sleuth.
Yeah. Unless it just never took her into that type of
Yeah.
the people that she had to like interact with to find somebody or to look up information or
Well, and for the disappearances to have only been in the last 2 months, maybe they were only successful within the last 2 months.
yeah.
Beyond, obviously, SeungJo, because he's been around since the original.
I just take whatever she says as the truth. So
Don't do that. You gotta fact check me. Keep me honest. I say things with so much confidence, and I don't know what they're real half the time.
Descendants of the Sun.
Touch your heart. Which I watched, by the way.
We did, and it was
I started
so
watching
cute.
it first, and she beat me to the end. I was like, what the heck, dude? It's so good.
It's so precious.
We did not realize that we needed an Idongwook
Romance.
just a romance, like a straight,
It
no
was
mythical. And it
literally touched our hearts.
I told
it
Ashley
was fabulous.
that it healed a lot of my goblin blues, because seeing those two in this drama,
It was so
just so precious.
chef's kiss.
They're-
Okay, we're gonna go now. Bye.
Yeah, okay, bye. Like what you're hearing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any new episodes. We'd love to connect with you on our Instagram at the KDrama Show. For more behind-the-scenes content, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. Links are in the show notes. Thanks for hanging out with us on the KDrama Show with Ashley and Kim, and we'll see you next time.